Hi guys, it's Sophie. So this is going to be the second half of my 5k Q&A. I'm obviously filming this in a different setting and day to my first half, but this is going to be all of the non-bookish questions that I received. Hopefully you don't mind that these videos are a bit longer. They tend to be a little bit rambly and I feel like this one might be even more rambly, so I'm just going to jump straight in. So the first question I got is, what is your dream job? This is a really hard question for me because I'm someone who is interested in a lot of things, and I think if you watch my videos regularly you'll know that lots of stuff appeals to me, and over time I have lots of different kind of ideals and dreams and things I can imagine myself doing. The thing that is probably the most steadfast is that I would love to be able to go hide in a cabin somewhere and write. If that was ever an option for me, I think I would jump and take that sort of with both hands. But there's lots of stuff that I'm interested in doing, and I'm someone that I can imagine myself being happy in quite a number of different career paths, so I do have kind of a number of different options really. But yeah, if we went for just like any option, it'd probably be like writing in a secluded cabin. Someone asked what area I lived in. I live in the UK, I live in the southwest of the UK. It's farmery land around here. I'm not going to be any more specific than that. I know some people who watch who are local know more of where I live, but just in general that's as much as I'm willing to give out. Yeah, it's a nice place in the world. And the next question was, have you watched La La Land, and if so, what are your thoughts? I haven't watched La La Land. I have not been really up on like all the Oscar movies at the minute, though I really do like movies. At the moment I don't live somewhere close to a cinema and I don't drive, so I can't get myself to see films unless I go to the city. So yeah, I haven't seen it, and I don't know really anything much about it other than just it's gained so much like hype. The next person asked me for my cinnamon buns recipe. I think the one that I showed you guys when I'd made was the BBC Good Food one, but they're not my favourite ones. There is a recipe by the Minimalist Baker which actually are vegan cinnamon buns, and they're really easy to make. They only have 7 ingredients, it's nothing really complicated, and they're really good. I think they're my favourite ones that I've had. I think I made them with my friend when I was like a kid, but like them, I feel like them. I'll link the recipe, I'm pretty sure it's that recipe down below, and if you want to have a go at making those, then please, you know, do and show me your response, you know, show me your results. I think that'd be exciting. I love cinnamon buns, and like I'm only just starting to like make them again. Like the round I made this time were the only ones I've made since I've lived here, but I think I'm gonna have a go at the vegan ones again because I feel like they are really good. So I was asked if I'd ever been to university, and if so, like what are my thoughts. So yes, I have been to university. I didn't finish university. I studied physics and I had to leave midway through my degree. I have a certificate in physics, like a higher education certificate in physics, but I don't have a full degree. I think university is a great thing. I think if you have the chance to go, you should. I think it's a good way to broaden your horizons and learn about things other than just the things that are on your course, but like other people, and it's a very kind of levelling thing, like being able to go away from home and like kind of starting again to some extent, and I think that's good for a lot of people. That said, I'm a really big advocate of apprenticeships and of people going straight into jobs where that is more relevant to them, and I genuinely think if your employment down the line is going to prefer you to have practical experience, you'd be far better off spending your time in an apprenticeship than you would be in university. And I think it's about figuring out which one you want more, because remember that going into employment is also a leveling experience, and I look at employing people who are graduates and who are school leavers, and there are a lot of differences between those two groups, and quite often you'll find that people who've gone through apprenticeships do have a bit more real world nous about them by the time they are sort of at a similar stage in their job to the graduates. That's kind of the reality. But I do think university is a great thing. I'm not putting it down, I'm just saying look at what the actual options are and figure out what's right for you, not just what everyone else does, because some careers and some industries, university actually isn't the best way, even if it might look like it to start with. So yeah, it's a good thing in general, but just spend some time researching it really. Someone asked what I studied at uni, so that was physics. It was actually physics as a joint masters with astrophysics, so physics with astrophysics. And I have actually spoken about my studies before in videos, and spoken a little bit about why I left university. And I was asked whether I'd ever thought about studying online, doing things like MOOCs, or looking at maybe studying abroad where there aren't fees, so that I wouldn't be incurring double fees to finish my degree. To be honest, I don't think that I'm ever going to go back and do physics. Whilst I love physics, I do feel as though that part of my life is done. And that's not me kind of being defeatist about it, but I feel as though, in a weird way, like, I feel like I've changed a lot as a person since I was at that stage of my life, and I don't necessarily know that I would feel like the person I am now and the person I've grown into would feel the same love as I did when I was 18. So no, I don't think it's something I'd look at. In terms of like higher education more generally, yeah, definitely. I do study at the moment with the qualification that's relevant to my work, which I can take up to like a master's level, and I think that, you know, continuing learning is great. The other thing I might look at doing down the line is I might look at trying to get like a master's level qualification in English at some stage in future on my own back, because I think I could probably do that, and I think that could be quite fun, because the study I'm doing at the minute is up to a master's level, so I should be able to kind of study at that level without too much sort of stress, but we'll see. But that would be something like the OU, so there's lots of options, but no, I don't think physics is something I'd ever do again, and I don't think that a formal university setting is something I'd ever do again. The reality is, when you grow older, you opt into certain responsibilities, and one of the responsibilities I've opted into is home ownership, and I don't think that's something I would want to give up to go and attend university physically. So yeah, good question, but yeah, I think ultimately no. I was asked if I have a 5-year plan. I do, but it's a hard one. So I'm 24, so in 5 years time I'll be 29. I imagine that when I'm 29 I'd want to feel fairly settled, and I don't know what settled means, but settled is probably a big part of my 5-year plan. Bear with me. So I don't feel as though settled has to be settled, married, whatever, but it's more a case of feeling like I want to feel comfortable with how my life was at that stage. So if that meant that I was in a relationship, or if that meant that I was in like a serious relationship, then that's fine, but it's not that I'm seeking, it's the sense that I'm at the right point in my life. And I think that's really what I want to try and gain by the time I'm nearly 30, is to feel as though the bullshit that was my teenage years and my 20s, I'm kind of done with. So my 5-year plan is a little bit of a weird one, because it's not a goal, it's not something that I can say like tick, yes, that's been achieved, but that's what I'm aiming for, is to be at a place where I feel as though my life is more settled. In terms of work, in terms of studies, like I would like to think that I would be, like, as I say, like qualified to, like, I'd have a master's degree finally, and I would hope that I could like be doing advisory or consultancy work by that stage. That would give me 8 years experience in the job I'm doing, and that would be about right to be able to do that, and that is kind of what I want to be doing. But to be honest, all my other goals, all the other stuff I'd really like to do is secondary to this idea of like settling within myself and feeling like I am okay with who I am, and that's my main goal really. Yeah, not something you can like tick off a progress chart or whatever, but that is where I want to be. Because that's what kind of music I listen to. So I think probably the music I listen to most is like some indie stuff and some electronic music. So they're the two ways I kind of go. So I would listen to, like I've spoken before, I might go over like a few of the people I'm loving at the minute. So there's a guy called Quinn XCII, I think, who I love. I've been listening to a lot of that. Eden, you guys have heard me talk about Eden before. Eden's one of my favourite artists, full stop. I love Damien Rice and like Annie DeFranco. They're like old loves, if you know what I mean. And then like other stuff, what kind of other stuff I've been listening to recently. I've been listening to an artist called K-Flay who does like kind of rap and stuff, but like really my music tastes are fairly random. Like I listen to all that, and then I'll listen to like Yurima. It's really one of my favourite like new classical musicians, or like violin covers of pop songs. There's a guy called David Yang, I think, who does those on YouTube, who I like. But like I find that I can enjoy quite a lot of music. Like I listen to dubstep and like screamo, like like whatever, like but I think my standard is probably like depressing electronic pop. That's probably my like avenue. Oh, that's what kind of tea I drink. At the moment, all I'm drinking is chai tea. So normally I drink like breakfast teas. Assam would be my normal one, but I've actually switched pretty much completely to chai teas now, which I love. There's a vanilla one, vanilla chai by Pukka Teas, that I really love. I'm actually drinking like I think it's called India teas at the moment, which do like just a cheap chai tea, which is good because I drink like 5 or 6 cups a day. So if I'm buying like a tea pigs or a Pukka, that's obviously really expensive tea. So I've managed to find a cheaper alternative that does still taste good. But I do drink like, you know, other kinds like cranberry or like echinacea, or sometimes green teas like matcha teas and stuff. But the thing I drink at the most at the moment is chai. I was asked about my religion and about whether I am religious in any way, because I talk about religious stuff a fair bit in my videos, and obviously I have this tattoo. So I think it's a fair question. No, I'm not religious. I consider myself to be an atheist, and sort of a fairly hardline atheist, as in I do not see a reason that God exists, therefore I have the conclusion that God does not exist. So some people consider themselves to be atheists as more of a kind of agnostic atheist. I feel fairly comfortable in saying that I don't feel there's enough evidence to say that God exists. That said, I come from a Christian background, and I was really into Christianity when I was younger, and I come with I feel like a good sort of fair to good understanding of the tenets of Christianity, and religion as a concept really interests me, even if I don't opt into it. I find it interesting to know why people believe what they believe, and to kind of think about why people do find that there is a good reason to believe what they believe. Because it's interesting to me, because obviously they've found something that I haven't, or they have accepted something that I won't. So I find it really interesting. But no, I'm not religious. I don't practice. I'm confirmed and all of those sorts of things, but like I don't attend church. I'll sometimes go if my family want to go for like Christmas or like Easter's stuff, but that's more because they see it as like a cultural thing. I don't get anything from it personally anymore, though I used to go to church every single day, you know, like physically go and seek out services every day. So I do have a background in it, but no, at the moment, nothing. I was asked if there's anywhere in the world I particularly want to visit. Yeah, like there's lots of places in the world I'd love to visit. I often feel quite limited with travel because I can't drive, and weirdly that stops me being able to travel like quite a lot of places, because basically it means I can go to airport cities, and I'm kind of screwed unless I can manage to get like a good train or whatever. But there are places I would love to visit. I think one place I would love to visit, kind of following on from the next question, is I'd love to go and see the Holy Lands. And weird, yeah, because I'm not religious, but I think that like going to see Jerusalem would be like an incredible experience, and that's something I would absolutely love to have the chance to do in my life. But that's probably my like current, if I could go anywhere, that's where I'd go. But places I'd really love to go, like when I can drive, is I'd really love to go to like either Norway or Sweden and go to like the like more rural places, like in the winter, like let's go proper, let's get stuck in a cabin, like get all your supplies kind of thing. I have a real strong draw to forests and kind of rural empty places, and the idea of finding somewhere like maybe even Canada, like, or like the States, like that have woodland and isolation. Like I want that for just a period of time. Like there's a real draw, so I think those are places and things I'd like to try and do once I can go further afield. But there's loads of places I'd love to visit. Like I really wanted to visit Russia when I was younger. Like that was the biggest thing. Like I wanted to go to St. Petersburg, and I don't really feel as though that's something I want to do at the moment. My views kind of changed when I was about 18 because of a lot of the anti-gay, anti-LGBT stuff that was going on, and I'm bisexual, and whilst currently I'm in a relationship with a guy, so I would be outgoingly straight, I would feel uncomfortable at the moment. So yeah, so like maybe there, but we'll see. Like there's lots of places, like I would love to kind of see everything, but I often feel like I can't, and like I should stay where I am. So yeah, I don't know, hopefully that's helped anyway. And that's what some of my favourite documentaries are, and that's really hard because I really do love documentaries. I'm trying to think because it's a hard one. There's lots. I'm never going to remember all the ones I really love. Tower, which is on Netflix at the moment, is fantastic. If you haven't seen Tower, do. A lot of the documentaries I watch will be like true crime stuff because I'm really drawn to that. There is a really good movie about Jeffrey Dahmer which has all his interviews in it. That's a documentary that's brilliant. I think that one's really interesting. And I really like stuff like Senna, which is a documentary film that's like made up of all of like clips and stuff. The same director did one about Amy Winehouse, which was really good. What other stuff can I think of that I've been really interested in lately? I quite like Louis Theroux stuff. I find him a really interesting person to follow around and to have his really cold, like observer lens pointed on lots of different kinds of people. I quite like his films. But yeah, I really do like documentaries. I watch quite a lot. I don't just watch true crime, but they're the ones that tend to be my favourites because I find them just so intriguing. Movies in general, some of my favourite movies are Girl Interrupted, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, The Princess Bride, Rear Window. Yeah, we'll go with those for now, but there's loads of them. Like, I kind of fall in love with films and I watch them over and over. Like, there's one called Little Children that I watched over and over again. There's one called A Room in Rome, which like is about like a lesbian couple that like I fell in love with when I was younger and I thought was the best thing ever. Like, I kind of find myself like stuck in movies. But yeah, I think some of those are probably some of my favourites. But I've watched like thousands of movies, like genuinely thousands of movies, so I have quite a few that I could consider favourites, but they're the ones that kind of jump straight to mind. And that's what my 5 desert island books would be. I'm going to go for like the biggest, fattest books I can think of. So I want to take Infinite Jest with me because I feel like I could read that again and again and get more and more out of it. David Foster Wallace has the ability to strike really fundamental truths about life in really simple ways, and I feel as though I could read that book again and again and again and do more and more with it, so I think that would be a good one. Similarly, like, whilst I don't believe in it, I feel as though the Bible might be quite an interesting one, just again because there's so much to pull out from there, and I feel as though that you could, you know, that's a long book to read and there's lots of stuff in there that's very different, and I kind of know that book as well. Like, I feel like I'd have some comfort in knowing that I had that there, because that's something that's been like throughout my life. Like, I've had bits of times, I've read the Bible a couple times already, but like it would be like a familiarity kind of thing. What other things can I think of that I'd have to have with me? I think I'd want to have some F. Scott Fitzgerald, just because I think he writes, like, if I'm imagining myself like Desert Island, like literally on my own, like I feel like Fitzgerald writes about love in a way that's really beautiful, and I think that would remind me of what that was if I was literally never going to see anyone again. So maybe like The Great Gatsby, just because I've read that book so many times and I feel like I could probably get more and more from that as well, and it's got that kind of sentimental feeling to it as well. I probably won't go to Lesher Bach by Hofstadter, and probably, you know, my 5th would probably be I'm a Stranger Leap, because again I think those books I got so much from and I feel like I could keep getting stuff from. Like, that's what I would try and choose in my Desert Island books, is not ones that like I necessarily just love, but things that I feel like I could spend a lot of time on and understand fully. So probably those. I was asked about the things that are written on my wall in my bedroom, because you'll have noticed if you watch some of my videos that I have writing all over my walls at the moment. They are quotes, essentially. Some of them are quotes from books, some of them are things that other people have said to me, because they help at the minute, and some of them just make me smile, some of them are like inspirational. There's one that's an Infinite Jest that's like by my bed that I have been using a lot, my partner has been using a lot, like it just seems to be like the quote of the year this year, but it's about enduring stuff. It's from Infinite Jest, I'm talking about Infinite Jest again, but basically there's this guy who's trying not to use drugs and he's in immense pain, and the phrase of it that's written up is no single moment was unbearable, here was a moment, right here, he endured it. What was undealable with was the idea of all of those instants lined up and stretching ahead, glittering. And that's my quote of the year, basically. Like, there's been some hard stuff going on, and if you've been watching a lot of my videos, you'll hear that I've been having a really hard time. and that has been really important. So like there are other quotes like that are helping me at the moment, and that's good. I also have a few lists of things I'm doing. Like you might have seen some lists, so I'm trying to set myself tasks and aims to ground myself and give myself purpose. So there's some stuff there that that just stays there to keep me connected, I guess. So yeah, that's what's on my wall at the moment. There's a few like hand drawings and poems as well, like that I've written like on the wall. But yeah, the whole of my room is kind of covered at the minute, and I'm sure at some stage in the future I'll have to repaint it, and it's going to be a bit sad. But it's helping me for now, and that's what I need. And then the last question was actually really nice to get, and I really want to thank the person who sent this to me for how they worded it and how carefully they thought about what they wanted to ask, because basically they said, you're a feminist and I don't understand why you're a feminist, why would anyone want to believe that? But it was a question that was put across as genuinely trying to find information, and it was a question that I just felt I was really pleased when I had that question, because it felt like that person really wanted to know the answer. And yeah, just genuinely like thank you. I thought it was just really nicely put across, and they're exactly the kind of questions I'd want to have here, are questions where people are saying, do you know what, I really don't get it, and clearly you think this is a good thing, so you know why, and that's great. Like I just really did made my day getting that question. The thing is, I'm probably not going to be the best person in the whole world to be talking about this. I can only really talk about why it's important for me. So I think that the person who'd asked said that they didn't really understand why it was important in developed countries. So I think it's really easy to imagine that that in developed countries we have equality, and that's partly because we have moved on so much from what we had historically. And that's great, and don't get me wrong, I think the progress that has been made in like lots of countries is brilliant, and I would celebrate progress no matter what. I still think feminism is relevant to me today, partly because I still think that there are things that are unfair, and partly because I feel as though there's a need to recognise and respect the things that weren't there historically, and to see the ways in which our society is affected by historical sexism. And I try as much as I can to make sure that I'm advocating for male and female rights, and trying to reduce any harmful sort of relationships between gender. But I can see how people see sort of what's happening in other countries, and then kind of think, well, you know, no one's being like beheaded here, we don't have honour killings, we don't have like female genital mutilation, we kind of do, but not to the same level. Sort of why are you worried? And I think partly like, yeah, it is personally going to affect me, but it feels really important. It's a bit like the way I wouldn't want to ever be in a place where I would forget the relationship that white people have had with black people in relation to slavery. I think that, you know, no matter how equal people become, you have to respect history as well. And in a weird way, I feel as though they're kind of somewhat comparable, in that you have something in which lots of people have been reduced in their humanity, and I think that has long running effects. So I do understand that, like, for you probably it's not something that you can really see, or something that really affects you, and the ways in which sort of gender and sexism plays in developed countries tends to be less immediately obvious than it is in other parts of the world, where people are literally still being hurt and being killed, or being denied the most basic human rights because of their gender. And I think it's easy to think if laws are the same, then the relationship is the same, or that laws equal like an immediate rectification or equality. I don't want to say too much more than that, because the reality is, like, there are lots of other people who are going to do this way better than I am, and this is just me talking. But maybe, like, if you are interested and you want to know a little bit more about it, like, try and see if you can find some people online who might give like good resources, like introductory level. But there will be ones out there that will be much better than this kind of ranting I've just done here. But yeah, so I think in general, I think we're getting better, but we're not equal yet. And I also think it's important to continue to think about the ways in which male and female rights interact with one another and continue on. And I also think it's important to respect the history of what we've had and not let that disappear. Remember that and respect that. Yeah, I think that's kind of it in a summary. So those are all of the questions I've had for my 5k Q&A. As I said in my first video, thank you all ever so much for being here, for subscribing, for asking me questions, for commenting, for making my day brighter. As I said, stuff's been really hard at the minute, and being able to film and talk to you guys has been one of the things that are really few things at the moment that are making me happy. And never underestimate what I get from this as well. Like, you guys give me a lot, and I am really genuinely thankful. So yeah, hopefully you've enjoyed this video and you have learnt a little bit more about me. You know, you're welcome to leave any follow-up questions down below if there's anything else you wanted to chat about. Obviously I'm not filming another Q&A, but I'm happy to just answer in the comments as per usual. I hope you're all well and happy, and I will talk to you soon in my next video. Bye bye.